Okay, welcome back, guys. So last week we touched up on color wheel basics. We defined primary, secondary, and tertiary colors. But this week we're going to delve a little deeper into color theory. We're going to focus today on color value and define what that is. So what is color value? Well, color value is the lightness and darkness of a color, and it's independent of its hue or saturation. So let's take a look at this a little bit deeper. Again, last week we made our basic color wheel with our hues, and we defined our primary, secondary, and tertiary colors. So not only do we have hue in our color wheel, we have saturation and value. Saturation is the intensity or chroma of the color, and we have value, which is the brightness of the color. And this is what we're going to be focusing on today, is color value. So to go even deeper, let's talk about value and how value is split up into three sections. So we have tints, which is color plus white, which, as you can see here, it makes the color brighter. We have tones, that is color mixed with gray, which you can see here, as it mixes with gray, it becomes less intense. And we have our shades, which is color plus black, which when we add black, it begins to darken and give richness to the color. So those are the three sections of color value. So now let's go in and see some examples of how value is used. Okay, so this week we're going to be focusing on making a value scale. So this is a simple project. It's not going to be hard to make, but what a value scale does is it shows us the amount of light that is absorbed and the amount of light that is reflected. And obviously, the lighter a color gets, the more light it reflects. So an example of this would be, well, I live here in South Alabama. So in the middle of July, it's 100 degrees outside. It's unbearable. So if I know that I'm going to be outside all day in that kind of heat, well, I'm going to choose a lighter color to wear because it's going to make me cooler. Obviously, if I wore black, you're just going to be burning up. Well, why is this? Well, white reflects heat because it reflects most wavelengths of light. And on the other hand, black absorbs heat because it absorbs most of the wavelengths of light, and it converts that energy into heat. So this is a good example of how values work. And I'm going to show some examples of how this correlates into value and color and how we use it in design and art. So we just discussed how a dark value is absorbent and a lighter value is reflective. So black, being the most absorbent color, basically absorbs all the wavelengths of light hitting it. And as you go up through the value scale, your values become more and more reflective until you get to white. This is Adobe Stager. It's a 3D program, and it pretty much just acts like the real world. It shows how a color like white is reflective and picks up colors that are bouncing around the object, and it pretty much just acts like a real world environment which you live in. So that being said, I have a sphere here that I created, and this sphere is totally white, and it has no sheen to the surface. It's not glossy. It's just pure matte white. So I'm going to turn my ray tracing on, and this is going to show you as it's rendering how reflective white is. You can see here I created a yellow-orange wall and a cyan floor. And you can see how this white is picking up that yellow-orange color, and really in the floor you can see how reflective white is by showing how much blue that white is picking up. Now, if we go down and change this color to black, and you'll know where I'm going with this, but black basically absorbs most or all of the wavelengths of light. So when I change this to a matte black, you basically don't see any color reflecting on this sphere. Now, another example is we talked about as values get lighter through the grayscale that we're making, they become more reflective. So if I take this and I make this 50% gray, the colors start reflecting as the value gets lighter. This is a 50% gray, so you'll see how the yellow-orange in the wall picks up and the cyan from the floor picks up, but the colors aren't quite as saturated as they were when they were white. But still, this shows as your values get lighter, they become more reflective, and this 50% gray shows that perfectly. The brighter your values get, the more reflective they become. So I just thought this was a great example to show, and we'll move on to the next section. Here is a painting by Caravaggio, and it's called The Calling of St. Matthew. And first, it is beautiful. It's a gorgeous painting, and it is a wonderful example of how we use value in design and art. As you can see here, it shows the values tremendously, and values again are the lightness and darkness of a color and how they're relative to each other. So a great example of this, let's zoom in here to this sad looking guy down here. So for instance, you see the light coming in, you see how vibrant it gets when it hits him, and I'm looking right here at this red in his sleeve, and I want to show you guys something. So here I made two swatches. What I did was I took this and I color picked here to show this red right here, and to show you how it can fool your eye on how bright or dark this color is. When you set this against this darkness of the part of the sleeve, it kind of fools you. The saturation kind of fools you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show this in black and white again, and you can see this red is darker than this gray. I made this gray 50% gray, so it's a mid gray. So look how in your mind you think this color is bright, when in actuality it's actually not that bright at all. So throughout this painting you'll see that there's just several different examples of value, how the light's coming in, how it's affecting the light on their faces, and value can fool you, as I showed here, even in these lighter areas of the painting, say in her face. This color is not white, and it's on the value scale probably more along the lines of only about 80% white, and that would be a guess. So this painting is just a wonderful example of how we use value in art. Then we're going to shift over and we're going to look at a painting by Monet. This is Water Lilies, and I'm showing again in this example how his values aren't nearly as contrasted as Caravaggio's. You can see here that the values are much more close together, and it creates more of a relaxing feel in the painting, as you can see here. I actually use this in my own paintings. This is a painting I'm working on, and I've really tried to focus on my values here, my difference in light and darkness, and try to show the atmosphere in the painting. And just another example in my bed here. So when you think about light coming in and it hits this white sheet, well, it's not necessarily white. You see, it's more of almost a mid-gray than it is white. So value is is a way that we can show depth in a painting. It can show dimension, the illusion of shadow. So I just wanted to give those examples to show you exactly how value works. From here, I wanted to go into the sections of value that we talked about in the beginning of the video. And we talked about how value is split up into tints, tones, and shades. And this painting by Picasso, I'm sure you're already familiar, is from his blue period. It's called The Old Guitarist. This is just a great example of tint, shades, and tones. And you can see here where he used blue, and he just used different values of blue using tints, tones, and shades. So he just increased the same hue and added white into it to bring up the lightness of the color. You can see that here. It's the same hue, it's just lighter. He does it in the shadows. It's the same hue. You just add black, and the color of that blue gets richer and darker. And you can also see here where Picasso used tones. Tones is adding gray into a hue, which kind of softens it and gives it more of a relaxing feel. And you can see these areas where he used tone. Look in his sleeve right here, and you can see, again, it's the same hue of blue, but you can see how just desaturated it gets through these areas. You can see it in his arm here, and you can see it in his shoulder here, in his hand. So this painting is just a great way to show what tints, tones, and shades are and how they work with each other. Okay guys, so here's the project. We're going to make a 15-step value scale. So to get started, I have my 11 by 17 page set up. It's set up in landscape, and it's set up in CMYK. And if you see you're in your CMYK palette here, you'll just go, and we're going to do this project in grayscale. So to start with, you're going to take your rectangle tool, you're going to click on the artboard, and we're going to set our dimensions. Our width for this project will set to 0.85, and we're going to go 4 inches tall. All right, so from there, we're just going to make a copy of this. I'm just going to use my Alt and Shift key to make a copy. And we're just going to drag that right there. Okay, let me close this down for now. So now we need to make our 15 steps. So how do we do that? Well, we're going to select both of these that we've made. We're going to go to Object. We're going to go to Blend, and we're going to go to Blend Options. And if this isn't set to specified steps, make sure it's specified steps, and then we're going to make this 13, and that's going to put 13 rectangles in between the two we got that make 15. Well, I hit OK and nothing happened. Why not? Well, you have to go back to Object and Blend, and then you have to hit Make, and that makes these options that you selected. So we're going to hit Blend, Make, and there's our 15 steps. All right, great. Well, from here, you're probably thinking, well, I'm going to take my white arrow tool, change this to white, and then call it a day and start working on my percentages. But the thing is, you can't work on your percentages yet because you can't select these. Even with a white arrow tool, you can't select these in between. So how do we fix that? Well, we're going to get our black arrow tool again. We're going to select those. We're going to go to Object. We're going to go to Expand. Object and Fill should be checked already. Just hit OK here. And what that did is that did expand everything, but it's in a group. And so what we're going to do is we're going to hit Ungroup here. So now we have all of our rectangles ready to put the percentages under. But I want to get rid of the negative space in between, so all these adjoin to each other seamlessly and create a 15-step gradient. So how do you do this? Well, a lot of people are going to start immediately going to their arrow key and doing it like this, and then it becomes, this is just what I just can't stand. So what I'm going to do is undo that. So rather than doing it that way, all we have to do is simply just select all these and make sure that they're ungrouped when you do this, and they are. You select all these, and you bring up your alignment panel, and that's under window if you don't see it here, but I have mine open. So when you select all these, if you see in this bottom right button, it says align to key object. When you select that, you'll see this light up with a 0 and give you these options. And what this does is default to 0 is going to take all that space out by pressing the horizontal distribute space button right here beside it. You click that one time and you're done. That saves you so much time versus individually trying to move each one of those and get them perfectly together. So that's a great tool to have. So I'm going to go and I'm going to select those again, all of them, and I want to put those back in a group, just so nothing gets out of alignment. And I'm going to center that to the page. Okay, so now we have all the negative space taken out. We can select each one of our value rectangles and put our percentages in. So I went ahead and just put these in just to show you. Here's our 100% black and 0% is our white. But we need to fill these middle section in with our percentages. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this first one, for instance, and we're going to go back up to our palette and our grayscale palette, and we can see that one is 92.86. So what I want to do is I want to round these up. So if they're above 0.5, we're going to round that up. So that one would be 93. I'll just copy this over here and take it. And we're just going to make that 93. So you're just going to go on down the line, like this one's 85.7, so you'll round it up to 86. That one's over 5, so you'd round that one up. And there's one that's below 5, so you would keep this one at 71 since it's 71.43. So anyway, you get the idea on that. So you'll finish these percentages out, and once you get done with that, we'll make the brackets. So now probably to one of the hardest parts of the project, and one that I know that students have ran into problems with, and I wanted to show you guys an easy way to make this, are these brackets down here that we're going to be making. So a lot of people are going to immediately go to their pen tool, and they're going to try to start making their brackets like this, and then you see it's hanging, and it's just a nightmare. So let's just take all that out of play, and let me show you guys how we can do this. I'm going to make this a black stroke around this, and we'll take the fill out. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually make boxes, and I've got my snap on. As you can see under view, snap to point, you want to make sure that's on for this. So I'm going to go back to my rectangle tool, and then I'm going to intersect this bottom left corner, and I'm going to make a box, and I'm going to pull it out to this third value, because if you see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this one's 3 over. I'm making that one. I'm going to make it a little bit taller. So from here, we're just going to copy this. We're going to do the same thing and let that one snap there. We're going to do the same thing and let that one snap there, and so on. And don't forget this again, this white value rectangle is right here, so this lines up. So now it's like, okay, well, we have a bunch of boxes. Well, let me show you why I'm doing that. I'm just going to arrow key these down for now. So if you see, we have these brackets, are centered in the middle horizontally with these. So to fix that, I'm going to select those 3 that we need to make shorter, and it's just going to snap to the middle on its own right there, and you have those 3 boxes. All right, you just take your white arrow key and just select that top line and hit delete, and there you go. It makes that. So you're just going to do this all the way across. Just make sure you take the white arrow and select that top line and hit delete once. And there's your brackets. Trust me, that's a lot easier than trying to draw those by hand. Okay, now I'm just going to quickly just make my vertical lines. I'm not going to put you guys through all this, but you see what I'm doing here. And I will just show you, if you want to line this vertical line up with this horizontal line, you just click the vertical line, hit shift key, click the horizontal line, then you let go of the shift key and press that line again, and it will highlight. And when you do that and you go to your horizontal center, it's going to center your vertical line to that. And that works with anything. Whatever you select and you highlight like I did, it's going to align that object to the one that is selected. So that's just a little trick there. And I think that's going to pretty much wrap this project up. I'm going to let you guys finish this out. Like you see here, you'll have your title, you'll have your value scale we created, you'll have your percentages, you'll have your brackets. I want you to go in and name those accordingly like you see here. I'm going to let you guys make this reflection and absorption percentage lines. The only other tip I would give you is when you're centering up your percentages, you can use the same trick that I showed you when I centered this up. And I'll just repeat this again. You'll select, like I'm selecting the 100%, then I hold my shift key down and I'll select the black value rectangle above it. I let go of my shift key, don't move my mouse, and press again, and you'll see that highlight, and then that's when you can line this percentage up with this alignment tool. It was already centered, so that's why you didn't see it move. But all right, guys, that's it. Take it from there, and I'll see you on the flip side.